And a very good evening and welcome to the live transmission. My name is Alami Koike. Today is the third day of the month of December, and we're still 22 days before the Christmas. I want us to look at the topic and let us discuss tonight again. The topic we're treating is going to be Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples. Why is getting out of a country always proving difficult? Yoruba must do all to exit now before it is too late. Sorry, today is the third day of the month of December, not the fourth. So I'm going to edit that. It is still the third day. Just for record purpose, it is important that we keep our date important. So today is the third, not the fourth. Enini Ojo Keta Nino Shukejila Odun 2023. My name is Olami Koiki. And let's just listen to the last part and then we go straight to the program. We start wasting too much time because we'll probably just be about 1 hour and few days. Okay. Sorry, this is not working again. All right, that's fine.
èyí tí wọ́n ròyìn yẹ olúwo ọba ńlọkù tó ṣẹ sáńtà máa dé ọmọ ìbò ṣàṣẹbẹ lọ wà ọjà máa dúpẹ́ lórí ọba òkúri tó o bá ti tàbí wòlé fọ́jọ́ òní ó tó pé kọ́ kí lọ fẹ́ wá láàrin àwọn ọmọ adarí mú gan tàbí tó o bá ti tàbí kí ọmọ láàrin ìpẹ́ kí lọ máa ṣẹ̀dá òfin ìrọ ọjà máa dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ alágbẹ̀dẹ àyẹ̀mọ́ ọba tó fi ọ́ dára tó dùn ọmọ adémọ́ ò ìwọ náà kọ́ olódùmarè ọba ní kúndú ọlá Sunday o. bá ní ọjà kọ́kọ́ máa ní máa gbọ́ tó orí má bẹ̀rù ọ̀tẹ̀ mọ́ orí ní gbogbo fúrufúru labalábá tí wọ́n ń dìbò lẹ́kùn Sunday ọmọ Adéyẹmọ Ìgbòho sá orí bí wọ́n ti ń wọṣọ àkísà máa gbọ́ jẹ́ gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá àtàtà bá lóye akọ́dà ayé ọgbọ́ ọmọ Adéyẹmọ ní ẹja àfọwọ́tì àti yìí débi tó lápẹ̀rẹ̀ ẹja àfọ tẹ́lẹ̀ èmi tí wọ́n bẹ̀ wọ òjò mi kò lè gbọ́ adébẹ̀ kankan fa akọ́dà ayé ọgbọ́ ẹja àgbà ọ̀pọ̀ ká bí ẹni tó gbọ́ pàṣẹ lárugẹ ni ẹ máa bá oní bọ́ ẹsẹ̀ wọn lọ fọ́nrán òní ni igi gbó sórí kò wọ́n dìgbẹ́ ẹ̀ẹ́rì ni àwọn àgbàlagbà wọ́n ní bí orí bá gbó tán inú déyìn ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ gan ni Sunday ọmọ Adéyẹmọ yé máa bá òótọ́ òní ọjọ́ burúkú tó lápẹ̀rẹ̀ ní ṣùgbọ́n àwọn tí wọ́n ṣerú ẹ̀ mo ò lè mú jẹ́ má ṣe pé ṣùgbọ́n nu rẹ̀ tó ọba tí wọ́n dábàá ní àbọ̀ ìmọ̀lẹ̀ thank you.
Once again, a very good evening and welcome. Because of the time constraint, and tomorrow is another beautiful day, so we got to do it as swiftly, as quickly, and as articulated as well. So I want us to sit back and let us enjoy the conversation. I will not have the time to start calling names in the broadcast, but we're just going to go straight into it after the anthem. A very good evening and welcome to my late night and Sunday broadcast. My name is Alami Koiki, and this is Koiki Media, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. I would like to appreciate every one of you that have joined us and those that will be privileged to watch this broadcast at their own convenient time. It is still the same discussion, it is still the same conversation on the Yoruba Nation movement, and we will come back after this as well. And a very good evening and welcome. Now we are fully set to go. All the platforms are running as I would love to have them running, and that means that we can now go completely live as well. I welcome you and I say good evening. This program is going to be in English because of the so many things I'm going to be reading out. Moki Bubu Ale Konse, I say very good evening and welcome. And let's go straight into it. In 1960, December 14, there was a United Nations General Assembly known as 1514. We've talked about this before, and it is good just to remind us about it again. The reason why we do a lot of these all the time is just to remind many people, that self-determination is a right, but it is not something that some countries love to allow you to have. Countries, let me first take us back to countries that did not attend the 1960 Declaration of Independence. In 1960, which is just literally about 63 years ago, there was a UN General Assembly that took place that would have given us the edge of what we are doing today. But unfortunately, certain countries refuse to also participate at that United Nations General Assembly. And that is why today it seems that countries that wants to have their own independent country, they're finding it very difficult. And the reason why they're finding it very difficult is because the countries that should have backed these self-determination as the Yoruba people, and we're not the only one campaigning for Yoruba nation or self-determination. There was a sitting, like I said, in 1960. I'm going to read it out, but I want us to take note of these countries. These countries were not voting for these, what we call the resolution. At the United Nations, they do have what they called resolution. Resolution means that they will sit together and they will determine what we called. Somebody asked me to clean the lens of the phone, so that is exactly what I'm doing, so that they can be able to see properly. Let's see if it gets better now. I think it should be better now. I think it should be better. Thanks so much, and I hope it should be better now. The question we should ask these countries is why they refuse in 1960 to sit in that resolution and allow that resolution to have gained a proper recognition. So today, what we are now witnessing after 63 years is that many countries are now asking for the right to self-determination. But in 1960, countries that voted for that declaration that I'm going to read out tonight were 89 countries. And we have 9 countries that were absent. When you look at the United Nations, for those of us that follow what is happening at the United Nations, especially at the Security Council, there are countries that have the veto power. So when they vote, it can nullify almost everything. Australia, Belgium, Dominican Republic, France, Portugal, Spain, South Africa, United Kingdom, and the United States of America. These were countries that refused to support, to endorse, to back these declaration on granting of independence to colonial countries and the people. And this is the reason why today, when you say you want to come out of your country, it will be very difficult because countries like United Kingdom, America, France, Belgium, these are the most powerful countries in the world today, and they are not likely to back your campaign to disintegrate out of a country that you are presently are. If they do not, or if they did not, let me put it that way, if these countries refuse to back this declaration in 1960, what gives you the thinking that UK is going to back the breakup of Nigeria that was absent when they were making these resolution would then allow Nigeria to break? What gives you the feelings that Australia, that was absent in 1960, December 14 precisely, which is about 11 days from today? Remember, when we say we want to exit, we want to come out of Nigeria, countries that refuse in 1960 are not likely to back you in 2023. Because these countries should have given the all clear with the signature of their country. Rather, they were smart enough to be absent. And when you are absent for something that is so important, it shows that they have hidden agenda, and they knew that in the near future, people like myself and other countries around the world would love to exit whatever country that they are in. And this is one of the most important part of any movement. Many people have said, let us lobby with America. But the question is, America was absent in 1960 during a very important resolution. When some of you say we should take our campaign to the front of the, Westminster, the UK government, but the UK government was absent in 1960. The question is, do you think anything have changed when it comes to now asking for this right to self-determination? What was the reason why they were absent? Were they thinking ahead of time? Or was it just something that they refused to accept, that the colonies that have been merged together, the boundaries that have been disturbed, the union that are forced on each other in different parts of the world, they will rise up one day and they will ask questions, which is exactly what we are doing today. We are asking questions. What led to the amalgamation of Nigeria in 1914? UK had the opportunity to change the narratives in 1960 by endorsing and supporting the resolution 1514 that I'm going to read out in the next couple of minutes. But rather, the UK government refused to support and back these resolutions. So when some of you are saying you want to come out of Nigeria and you're having or expecting the UK government to support such moves, the UK government would not support the disintegration of a country like Nigeria because they are the founding father of Nigeria itself in 1914. The question then we should ask is, what kind of engagement can we do with these countries, especially the ones that I've named that refused to endorse the resolution in 1960? Australia, Belgium, Dominican Republic, France, Portugal, Spain, South Africa, United Kingdom, and United States. 89 countries voted in favor, while 9 were absent. Why were they absent? People also asked questions that say, what countries are recognized by United Nations as the not self-governing? Let me give you those names that I have here. What countries are recognized by United Nations, UN, as not self-governed? Let's first find the meaning of self-governed so that we have a kind of understanding when we say self-govern. Govern, what does it mean? When you have the word self-govern, is having control or rule over oneself, specifically having self-government autonomous. That is the meaning. Also, according to Marian website, webstet.com, I guess it's a dictionary, and it's in self-govern. Self-govern means having control.
Self-governing.
Okay, having control or rule over oneself. Example of self-govern in a sentence. Administration officially arrayed the law as liberation from the constant vulnerability of relying on a chip maker in Taiwan, a self-governed island only 100 miles off the Chinese coast that is claimed by Beijing. Peter S. Goodman, New York Times, 25th of March, 2023. Taiwan, a self-governed island that Beijing claimed as its territory. I'm sure a lot of you that follow the international news will know that Beijing is claiming Taiwan, while Taiwan refused to accept Beijing claiming that territory. Taiwan, as we speak to, is a very powerful country in the world of what we call nations. Let me give you the background of Taiwan a little bit as well. Taiwan, as we speak today, is 23.5 million in population, according to the World Bank in 2020. They have their own currency called the New Taiwan Dollar. Their capital is Taipei City. They have their president. But Beijing continue to claim that part of the world. The question then is, how many countries recognize Taiwan as a country and why? The reason why Taiwan is recognized is also got to do with a lot of, again, diplomatic relationship between certain countries or not. So let's give an example. Does the UK government recognize Taiwan? The United Nations does not recognize Taiwan as a country because China literally veto on that. But the UK does not recognize Taiwan as a state, has no diplomatic relationship with Taiwan, so limited consular services available to the British nationals, according to what I'm reading here as well. Now, I'm going to leave that. I don't want us to get away with the question of tonight is declaration on granting of independence to colonial countries and people. What does that mean, in a layman? Once again, a very good morning, good evening, and it is still the 3rd day of December 2023. This is Koiki Media bringing the world closer to your doorstep as we continue to educate and enlighten people why the Yoruba people must exit Nigeria. Let's go further into it again. Once again, 9 countries refuse to accept that resolution. Let's go again and ask question. United Nations list of non-self-governing territories. According to the United Nations Charter, defines as a non-self-governing territory, NSGT, as a territory whose people have not yet attained a full measure of self-government. In practice, a non-self-governing is a territory deemed by the United Nations General Assembly to be non-self-governing under Chapter 5 of the United Nations Charter. Also includes a declaration on the non-self-governing territories. The interest of the occupant of the dependent territories are paramount, requires members of state of the United Nations in control of such territory to submit annual information report concerning the development of those territories. Since 1946, the United Nations General Assembly has maintained a list of non-self-governing territories under member state control. Since its inception, dozens of territories have been removed from the list, typically when they attain independence. The Yorubas, as we stand today, we have a territory. We are not yet self-governed because Nigeria has taken control of that. What we are now doing is we are now asking, we are telling our people why we should become self-governed. We will not be recognized yet as a country because we have the territories, we have the people, we have the requirement that the United Nations expect us to have, but what we don't have yet is the self-govern, which means that if we declare a Yoruba nation today, we are literally telling the world that we are on our own. But the question is, you are not likely to be recognized by the United Nations, by many countries around the world. But as we speak tonight, there is nothing of the fact that the Yoruba people have a country yet. And this is where we are now campaigning. But the campaign that we are doing on a daily basis, the education, the reasons we are giving why we should come out of Nigeria, the argument there, the most argument is that our real identity is being shielded under Nigeria. Nigeria is a country under the United Nations, and it became a country in 1960, and it became a member of the United Nations, I believe sometime around that year as well. What we are now saying to the world is that we would like us, the Yoruba people, to come out of Nigeria But the process of how it will end up is what is becoming the argument. Many people argue, how do you become an independent country? But what they've not asked is, do we have the right? Do we have what it takes? Do we have the requirement to become a country? We have the most important requirement, which is our own territory, called the southwest part of Nigeria today. So that alone gives us the edge to prove to anybody around the world that that territory belongs to the Yoruba people. That territory does not belong to the name called Nigeria, because the name called Nigeria was coined in 1914 by the British during the amalgamation. Some argue that since we have lived together for the period of 63 years, there should not be any reason why we should pull down the name Nigeria. Nigeria is not going to be the only country in the world today that is being pulled down. Many countries that are being under a particular country have pulled out. A good example of that is East Timor. East Timor was under the rule of the Indonesian government in the 70s. But today, East Timorians now have the privilege, the opportunity to be called East Timorians as against being called Indonesians, because they are not Indonesians. Indonesia is a different country with about almost 200 million people, mostly Muslims, while the East Timor have their own ways of life. They are 1.3 million, and they have now become a country of their own, just as we say in 2003, May precisely. So the Yoruba people today might not understand why we are saying we want to come out of Nigeria. We want to come out of Nigeria so that we can also have our own, what we call independent, we can have our own country as well, and we can also have our own identity. We can be recognized around the world as Yoruba people, as against being recognized as Nigerians. The word Nigerians was coined after Nigeria was created, but initially we are Yorubas before Nigeria. So what we need to do right now is to say to ourselves that the Yoruba people should have their own self-govern, self-independent. And that is going to happen if every Yoruba agrees that the word Nigeria is not the true picture of who we are. But not everybody agrees. This is where we are now have to argue. This is where we now have to bring out reasons. This is where we now have to talk about why the Yoruba people should come out of Nigeria, which some disagree with us. Once again, we the Yorubas are saying we can do it. We can have our own independent country. We can rule ourselves. We can govern ourselves. We can determine the kind of constitution that favors us as Yoruba people, as against being part of Nigeria under what is called the federal character that doesn't represent the true picture of a Yoruba man, a Yoruba woman today. We can determine that our language will become the official language as against English, because English is not the true picture of our language. Today, we are now being told that speaking Yoruba is vernacular. Literally, Yoruba is meant to be our spoken language across the Southwest, just like you do in Germany. You do not speak English in Germany because they are not recognizing English as their official language. But the most important thing is, do we have the right? Thank you so much, Kunle Bakers, and we really appreciate you for always being there, especially with your gift when we're running the program. Once again, my name is Olami Koike. So tonight, I am trying to explain, I'm bringing the fora, the argument, to many Yorubas and those that are non-Yorubas, especially the Africans, that believe that Nigeria is one bloc and should also be able to walk our way around that union called Africa. Some have said that we should fight for the Africanism. No, I say we should first fight as in Yoruba under our own national list. We should become more proud to become a Yoruba country within the context of Africa. During the colony, a lot has been destroyed, a lot has been changed. The narratives has been removed, especially during the 1884 Berlin Conference. But the question again is, why do we have countries that refuse to be part of what we call today declaration of our own independence? So if you're expecting that America is going to give you a support to disintegrate out of Nigeria, you're not going to get that such support, because America believes that Nigeria is better in one block as against having multiple countries coming out of it. The question again is, are we better off when we have the unit that is smaller and then work with America as a country and the other countries around the world? Soviet right to self-govern. The Russia also say that certain part of those within Ukraine want to become independent away from Ukraine, even though that we know that there are some other reasons why the fight is still going on, because Ukraine wants to become a member of NATO, and that literally means that they will be much closer to Russia, and Russia disagree with that. There's a lot of things around that area. You can see what is going on as well in the Middle East today. So the world today is so divided because territories have been destroyed during the colony. During the colony, they've literally destroyed the boundaries from Ethiopia down to Egypt. If you go to Morocco, the Western Sahara are still fighting the Morocco government so that they can take full 100% of their territory. But as I speak to you today, if you go into Western Sahara declare their independent. They are recognized in certain countries, and likewise, they are not recognized in certain countries as well. The United Nations consider the Polisario Front to be the legitimate representative of the Sawari people and maintain that the Sawaris have a right to self-determination. The question is, what do we prove? What do we take to the United Nations to tell them that the Yoruba people also have the right to self-determination? The last thing the United Nations want is to see a humanitarian disaster that will lead to a war, and that means it will become humanitarian problems. Are we going to get a referendum from the government of Nigeria? I don't know, but the question is, we must continue to push and ask for such, and let Nigerians decide whether we want to stay in one block or not. It is an option that was given to the Scottish people in 2014 by the previous administration of the former Prime Minister that is currently the Secretary of State today, known as David Cameron. David Cameron allowed a yes or no vote to take place in Scotland in 2004. About 2 million people voted to remain in UK, while 1.6 million said no. 2 years after that, there was another BRICS exit vote that said yes or no. Do we want to be a union? Some said no, while some say yes. The question then is, who is blocking these notion that the Nigerians want to remain in one block? It is not up to the politicians to decide that. It is up to a vote to decide whether we all want to stay under one umbrella called Nigeria. You can no longer force any country on people anymore in today's world. You must ask and do consultation. What we are seeing right now is the Western world that refused to back the declaration in 1960, and now the same country that are telling us to get a PVC and we can continue to vote every 4 years, knowing fully well that that is a complete lie. Voting do not resolve the problem in a country that has over 300 different ethnic people. We're talking about 500 languages. There is going to be problems. Even the minority within Nigeria today are being marginalized. There's nepotism going on. The question then is, who does not want the breakup of Nigeria? Who benefit from Nigeria? And who does not want the Yoruba people to become successful just as the British people are successful. Many British people do not have what it takes as against what we have. But the advantage that they have is they have a country called Great Britain that allows them to flourish and decide and determine who they are. But the Scottish people refuse to be part of that anymore. And that is why the Scottish are now campaigning for another second referendum to determine whether they want to remain within this context called Great Britain. Now, let's go further again. Western Sahara is the last African colony state yet to achieve its independence, has been dubbed Africa's last colony. The question again is Western Sahara a country? Yes or no? Morocco claimed authority over Western Sahara as far back as 1975, but the United Nations does not recognize Moroccan control, calling Western Sahara a non-self-governed territory. Do you think that the United Nations as well at some point would have to accept that the Yoruba that house the territory would eventually have to be under the same non-self-governed territory? But if we have to get to that stage, we have to prepare for a lot of things. What we are saying today is negotiation about the unity of Nigeria must come forth before anything else. If not, there will become more friction, there will become more problems, and the least of the last thing we want to see today is another civil war. It will be a disaster, but it can be averted. But it seems that many of Nigerians and many of the politicians are sitting on a ticking time bomb. Once again, my name is Olami Koike, and I welcome you to the program. Again, Morocco is claiming the authority over Western Sahara, but United Nations disagree. Do you think that at some point during the campaign of the Yoruba people and the Biafra as well, we will take control of our territory, but we might not get the full control if things are not done in a proper fashion? And what do I mean by that? If the federal government continue to refuse to allow us to determine our fate, and eventually the Yoruba people decide to continue and set up their own government and run that government parallel along with the federal government, what would eventually happen is the United Nations would have to sit, and there will now be another resolution that will determine whether the resolution of the 1960 favors us or not. The question is, do we have the right to self-determination? And the answer is yes. And I'm going to tell you why and how. Something was adopted on the 14th of December 1960 at the General Assembly Resolution 1514 called Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and People. That means whatever I'm doing today, whatever we are doing under the leadership of Professor Banji Akintoye, under those that request that we should be asking for self-determination, that was adopted on the 14th of December 1960. So when those of you that are arguing that we should not continue to campaign for Yoruba nation, we should stick to Nigeria, the question is, if this was not adopted, even though we know that 9 countries were absent, but 89 countries allowed me today to say go ahead, because it has already been enriched and adopted under a document. And anything that is adopted is a document, and that document is the reason why we are saying self-determination is a right. Now, let's read further. And if you follow me on the X, you can literally get the link of these as I've just posted it right now as I speak to you, in case you want to read further. My name is Olami Koike, and if you're new to this platform, this is self-determination platform that asks for the right of the Yoruba people to dismantle, break away from Nigeria, disintegrate Nigeria, de-amalgamate Nigeria from the fraudulent 1914 amalgamation by the British Empire. The General Assembly, mindful of the determination proclaimed by the peoples of the world in the Charter of the United Nations, to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and the worthy of human person, in the equal right of men and women of the nations large and small, to promote social progress and better standard of life in larger freedom. Imagine this was 63 years ago. Today, many Nigerians do not even understand what is freedom because your freedom has been literally removed from you because many of you have been stripped naked. Conscious of the need for the creation of conditions of stability and well-being and peaceful and friendly relation based on respect for the principles of equal right and the self-determination of all peoples, and of universal respect for and observance of human right, fundamental freedom of all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Recognizing the passionate yearning for the freedom in all dependent people. What we are doing today is we are yearning, we are asking for something, something that is our right that was removed from us in 1914, something that was removed from us during the slave trade. Some of you will cry when you get to the Slave Museum in Liverpool, where I have been opportune to visit. You will cry. You will see how the forefathers were tied. Some of them were thrown into the sea. Some of them were used to dig the London Underground that most of us are enjoying today. This is what the West, during the colonial time, during the colonial period, the slave trade was a big business between the West, the Europeans, and some of our forefathers. So when some of you are saying that we should stick to Nigeria, you are also saying we should continue to remind ourselves of the slave trade that was used to destroy who we are. Most of those that died during the slave trade never wanted to die in those conditions. They were forced out of their territory. And that is where they say, when you get to the point of no return in Badagry, you're not likely to go back home. You become a slave, your name will be changed, and you will be sold on and on and on. Thank you so much, Milano. So when we are telling some of you that we do not want to be part of Nigeria, is because the slave trade was also one of the biggest threats during that period. But today, many of you, thank you so much, Milano D. But today, many Nigerians doesn't even know what took place during the slave trade. You might want to visit Badagry, maybe you can get the hang of it. I was opportune once to visit Liverpool in outside London. When I got there, I was very, very emotional. Many things I saw there, we were sold just because of mirror. Some of our forefathers were given a mirror while people were sold a gin. The alcohol gin was given to our forefathers. But today, most of you go to the club and you probably drink something much more expensive than that. But during that era, it was something like a big thing. Many of you Nigerians need to return back to your history and start asking questions. Who truly are we? There's nothing called Nigeria as of 1913. There was nothing called Nigeria before the European came into our shore. They came in as visitors. They decided to take advantage of what we have. And in the next 108 years, they are still using that same advantage. That is why the British refused to sign this document in 1960, because they've already saw what they saw in Nigeria, and they knew that people will rise up as time goes on. This is a different breed of generation. You cannot fix, you cannot amend, you cannot profile Nigeria to the taste of what you want. It will never, never happen. The best option is we must come on the round table and determine our future. There is nothing called Nigeria. It is just one of the biggest fraud that the British decided to put together. Conscious of the need for the creation of conditions of stability and well-being and peaceful, friendly relations based on the respect for the principles of equal right and self-determination of the peoples of the universe, respect for and observance of the human right, fundamental freedom for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Recognizing the passion yearning for freedom in all dependent peoples, the decisive role of such peoples in attaining of their independence, aware of the increasing conflict resulting from the denial of the impediment in the way of the freedom of such peoples, which constitute a serious threat to the world peace. Today, the reason why the world is not peaceful is because colonies have been destroyed, boundaries have been removed. We knew what happened during the Oyo Empire. We knew how far the Oyo Empire was up to Togo, up to Ghana, even up to Benin Republic. But today, those boundaries have now become friction. It is so much difficult for a Yoruba man to travel into Benin Republic because of the Fulani that have been kept there as a military that have decided that you cannot travel into Benin Republic. But in the northern part of Nigeria, the border is so open and you can literally come in with anything you like without paying tax. All these is part of what took place during the Berlin Conference that destroyed the boundaries. Everybody took every part of what they wanted. The Belgium took Congo. The France took, Mali, Niger. We saw what is happening now. They're fighting back. The question is, the British government, as at the time of the British Empire, took chunk of the west of Africa, and they knew what was there, and they refused to sign the 1914 declaration just because of some of those things that they met before 1960. Bear with us with the sound at the back. Hopefully it's just spinning, and that should die down anytime soon. Recognizing that peoples of the world ardently desire the end of colonialism in all its manifestation, convinced that the continued existence of colonialism, which is still happening today. Many of you say we've got independence. I don't think so. What we still have is we still have those colonialism that is going on, but in a different format, in a different shape. We are now the one running to Europe rather than Europe running to us. Everybody now wants to leave Nigeria because Nigeria doesn't seem to prefer the good thing that we want. So the only option now we see is traveling out of Nigeria. Even some end up in some countries that are not even up to our own territory that is so beautiful, that has what it takes. And this is the reason why some of us are now asking the question, should we still maintain Nigeria, or should we say enough is enough? The argument is, some say we can still maintain Nigeria, we can still keep it, while some of us say it is not worth keeping anymore. I'm just going to allow that to spin before we move further. Once again, a very good morning and good evening, and welcome to my program. My name is Olami Koike, and this is Koike Media, bringing the world closer to your doorsteps as we continue to educate, as we continue to highlight, as we continue to tell you the truth that nothing is called Nigeria. It needs to wind down. Shout out to every single one of you that have joined us, and we must continue to say it as it is. Nobody's going to tell you exactly what we are saying, but we will be here to tell you exactly what it is. I'm just going to allow that to spin a little bit before we go further. Once again, remember that Taiwan is 23.57 million. It is not yet a full country that people recognize because of Beijing, but they are doing so much better than Nigeria of today. Taiwan, officially the Republic of China, is a country in East Asia. It is located at the junction of the East and the South China Sea in the northwestern part. Somebody did ask, is Taiwan its own independent country? China currently claims its province, while Taiwan maintains is already an independent country. The question is, if the Yoruba also declare without putting the structure in place, we will end up becoming a self-non-governing. The UN might recognize it, but there will be countries around the world that might disagree with it. That is the reason why consultation must continue, negotiation must continue, the push of enlightening more Yoruba people must also continue, and diplomatic talk must also continue. And I guess the washing machine have just completed its job. Let's continue. Again, convinced that the continued existence of colonialism. Let me quickly give you the background of the meaning of colonialism. Colonialism is now happening in a different format. We're trying to look cool like the Western people, but unfortunately, most of us are suffering in silence. Most of us are not enjoying the kind of life that our forefathers enjoy, because even though we want to live in Europe, it is not something that some of us wants to do anymore. So when we talk about
colonialism,
once again, a very good morning to those of you that have joined us from different part of the globe. My name is Olami Koike, and this platform is called Koike Media, bringing the world closer to your doorsteps. So once again, let's go back into the conversation. Freedom is not what you'll be given for free. You have to go for it. What is the meaning of
colonialism?
When somebody asks you today, what is
colonialism?
The policy or practice of acquiring full or partial political control over another country. I'm asking today, do you think that Nigeria is still under
colonialism?
Just say yes or no. Many say we have independent, we have become an independent country. I can tell you that that is a lie. There's nothing independent in today's Nigeria. It is just the impression that we have been given that we are independent. We are not yet an independent country. We are still under
colonialism.
Colonialism is a practice by which one group of people, the British Empire is just one group of people, decided to capture the whole region of what is now called Nigeria. It was not Nigeria as at 1913. It was called the Southern Protectorate and the Northern Protectorate. Money was being lost in the Northern Protectorate. The British Empire was not making money out of it during the colonial time, and they decided to sell Nigeria by putting us together. Eventually, we heard about the Royal Niger, and it seems that many Nigerians are saying, well, all that history, we should forget it and just foster and work together. The question is, you cannot work together in a country that has 300 different people with different backgrounds. The hatred will continue to thy kingdom come. You will continue to curse each other. You continue to fight each other. And like my brother said there, Dizzy Man 123, yes, we are still under full-blown colonialism in different form. I had someone that came from Nigeria looking for a warehouse job. I said, if Nigeria was working, he should be working in the same warehouse in Nigeria. Many Nigerians that do not understand what we are talking about is because you are still being affected by the new form of colonialism. Being on TikTok means nothing. Being on Facebook means nothing. Being on YouTube means nothing. What really matters is for me to have my full identity. There are some countries around the world that are not even operating with this platform. They have their own platforms. We can set up our own platform and we allow people to buy into it. But today, Nigerians love the new form of colonialism because we believe that we have a bit of freedom on the social media. That is not the true picture of who we are. We are Yoruba before Nigeria, and we must continue to tell you that. I understand that some of you have become so twined in today's Nigeria because of the way we've lived together for 63 years. We will still live side by side, but the only difference is we will be called a country, and those other ethnic groups would then have to accept who we are. The UK left European Union. Many citizens of the European Union are still living here, while some think that it was not worth it anymore. They return back to their country. But the room was given. The negotiation was on the table. As the UK was exiting out of the EU after a 35 years marriage, they thought the marriage was no longer working. The citizens were asked the question in 2016 to vote whether they want to become member of the EU or to exit. The British decided to change their passport just after that. So thinking that when we break up of Nigeria, it's going to be the most easiest thing. A lot of us will even have jobs because a lot of things would have to be changed. We would have to change the passport. We would have to become our own ambassador in UK, our ambassador around the world. We will have real people to talk to. We will have people to engage with. We will have a government that represents us, because today, Nigeria do not represent anybody. So when some of you think that we are just talking, maybe you should start asking questions. Are you still under
colonialism?
Many of you are, including myself. Nigeria, independent country, it is still being controlled from outside. You don't have to agree with me. Once again, colonialism is a practice by which a one group of people, the British Empire, social construct or nation state controls direct or impose taxes. We are still paying taxes to this country indirectly or directly, one form or the other. That is why a lot of things will never work in Nigeria, because the UK and the rest of the other countries around the world want to operate on our behalf. You will not get the kind of 24 hours electricity that you're looking for. You will not get the kind of policy that will support the indigenous people. The policy today in Nigeria is for Nigerians, is not for the Yoruba people, because that does not represent the true picture of who we are. We need a policy that will tell us exactly who we are in our own language, in our identity. But today, many of you do not want to accept that, and that is why the country is backwards. Nigeria will not grow either in this administration or within the next 63 years. We must come on the round table and we must find in 3 years we dissolve Nigeria and everybody goes their separate ways. If otherwise, there might likely be what we call problems in the future. We are sitting on a ticking time bomb. Often by establishing colonies. These colonies was what they were trying to avoid, that then gave us what they called granting of independence to colony countries like Nigeria. But they were smart enough to say, well, we've given Nigeria independence, but in true picture, we are still under the British colony. Directly or indirectly, the question you should ask yourself is, why do you want to come out of Nigeria if truly Nigeria was meant to be for us? I understand not everybody is going to come out of Nigeria, but in true picture, the 200 million in Nigeria today, if they are given opportunity to exit Nigeria, they will all exit Nigeria. Convincing that the continual existence of colonialism prevent the development of international economic. We continue to borrow from the IMF. We continue to borrow from the Exim Bank. We continue to borrow from the World Bank. We continue to borrow from the Chinese Suka loan or Suku loan, the Arab loan. So all these keep us in bondage. The new administration have given a budget of 27 trillion. Do you know that we're going to be servicing debt up to 8 trillion? The rest is then going to be managed to keep Nigeria going. The government is trying to borrow $8.4 billion needed for infrastructure, agriculture, security, water. Out of the budget of 27 trillion, only $500 billion, 500 billion is been allocated for social intervention for a country of 200 million. We are better off to allow the country to go, and then we maintain our territories. We talk about whatever has joined us together. Whatever joined us together, we can still keep it, and then people pay tax on both sides. There will be a government to government that will decide how to manage things. The UK is still negotiating, even since 2016, the exit out of the European Union. The UK wants to drive their goods from the border of Northern Ireland into the market in Europe. But the Europeans are saying, well, since you exit out of this union, we will have to all decide what tax you have to pay so that we can allow your goods to come into our market, because you are no longer a member of the European Union. The question is, if Nigeria do break today, It will not stop whatever business, whatever investment that both sides have. It will just be government to government decide what will be in the interest of we, the other side, and then interest of both other side as well. But if we all refuse to accept that, the future is very, very bleak in Nigeria. So many of you that want economic development, it's not going to happen. 119 local government in Yoruba land, they will not survive even the next 63 years because we will be overrun by the other ethnic groups. It does not matter which of the ethnic groups, they will overrun us if care is not taken. We must take control of our borders. We must take control of who we are. We must take control of our territories. That territory is ours. But today, it is open to everyone because it is under fraudulent country called Nigeria. My name is Olami Koike. This is still Koike Media, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. We hope to bring the program to an end just about 1 a.m. local time in London. It's just 19 minutes past 12 midnight, and it's now the 4th day of the month of December 2023. Asokwe Ojoaje, Happy New Week. Again, convinced that the continued existence of colonialism prevent the development of international economic cooperation, impaired the social, cultural, economic development of dependent people, militate against the United Nations ideal for universal peace. There will never be peace in Nigeria. It does not matter how many, thank you so much, Sukalon. It does not matter how many peace discussion that we sit. Those that are paying will continue to remind you of different things, and people will tell you what favors them. But one thing we must remember is that the reason why there's so much disunity in us is because the colony, the British Empire during the colony wanted that to be. If not, they shouldn't have merged us together, knowing fully well that we are all different breeds. Affirming that peoples may for their own end freely dispose of their natural wealth. We have the wealth, but we are no longer enjoying it. You go to Osun State, there's so much gold in Osun State. We should not even be buying gold from Dubai, but unfortunately, according to the OEC, Nigeria sell all the raw material to Dubai, then our parents travel to Dubai and buy gold and bring it back home and sell. The question is, why are we not manufacturing the gold itself and converting it to whatever we want to use it for, and we can even sell it to the outside market? We should not be leaving Ondo State. It has the water. We should not leave Ogun State. We should not leave Ekiti State. We should not leave Lagos State. But rather, every one of us now wants to travel out of Nigeria so that we can survive one way or the other. The reason for that is we have literally lost our natural wealth and resources. Abacha stole so much that even his family continue to laugh at us while we are trying to save Nigeria. And that goes to as many of the corrupt politicians that have milked out of Nigeria, from Gowon to Obasanjo to Tinubu to the rest of every single one of them. They will tell you that we keep one Nigeria, but it's only going to be for a little percentage of people. Those resources belong to the Yoruba people. Those resources belong to the Hausa people. Those resources belong to the South. We can then buy from each other. Japan does not have anything, but today Japan is a big country around the world. They don't have anything. So if we think that because if we break away, we're going to lose part of the crude oil that doesn't even have any benefit to me, the question is, our government can buy as much as crude oil that we need from whoever is selling it to us, and we can use that to propel our own production. The reason why you don't have enough of these things in Nigeria today, India is becoming the strongest economy in the world, the 5th economy in the world today. So they need as many of our crude oil to power their own production in India. And when they finish production, they bring it back to Nigeria and they flood the market, and every single one of you are so excited. And you try driving Okada and Keke Marua that is produced in India. The question is, we have the resources, but we are selling that resources and then we come back with the finished goods. The reason why many of you do not have job today is because Nigeria is not producing anything, and it will not produce anything because that is exactly what they want. Believing that the process, okay, I'll take that again. I found that the peoples may, for their own ends, freely dispose of their natural wealth and resources without prejudice to any obligations arising out of international economic cooperation based upon the principle of mutual benefit and international law. When we have our own country, we will become having mutual benefit. The question is, what is the benefit of being part of a commonwealth that does not allow you to get to UK at the appropriate time that you want to? I mean, UK colonized Nigeria, but coming to UK is becoming very difficult for many of you, and many of you have to lie in your application so that you can get to UK. Some of you don't even have the amount of money that you say you owe in that account because you know that. But in reality, you know, East Timor is 1.3 million and they can get to this country without a visa. We used to have the same opportunity until whatever happened changed in the 80s. And that means today, about 140,000 from the paper I'm reading have applied for visa to America. Probably maybe they have it or not. They've given them, I don't know. But these countries know that, you know, the best bet is for us to split. But like I said, America and UK was absent in 1960 when they were making these, resolution. If America was there and UK was there, the breakup of Nigeria would have happened as quickly as possible, because I can reference back and we can tell our leaders to tell America that you sat there, you endorsed it, you adopted it. Why are you not allowing it to happen today? So America will tell you that, well, we are trying to help Nigeria to solve their security problem. No, that is not what we need. We want you to break that country so that we can all have a different international and mutual benefit. The question is, what is the benefit between you and Nigeria today? What have you benefited from Nigeria? I don't think we have benefited anything apart from being enslaved as we continue to become slaves. Believing that the process of liberation is irresistible and irreversible, and that in order to avoid serious crisis, which is something that I've been talking about, we don't want crisis, but we are getting into where the crisis continue to show in our face because we are living in denial. So even in 1960, when they were putting this together, they knew that if we are going to avoid any crisis, an end must be put to colonialism. And that is why I asked again, are we still practicing colonialism in Nigeria? The question is yes. Many of us, including myself, because I live in this country and I'm still under colonialism, one form or the other. Many of you that have not even left Nigeria, I just pity your understanding. In order to avoid serious crisis with the S at the end, and the crisis is going to happen, but the question is when and they and how, nobody knows, but we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. It will happen, but like I said, we can avoid it if we are truly ready. But many of us do not want to believe that the crisis is going to erupt. The EndSARS was just a small part of what is going to happen if negotiation and the discussion of the unity of Nigeria fails to come up on the round table. There will be crisis, and I am not shy to tell you that, because even in 1960, we are told from this document, which I have shared on my Twitter space known as X, says, believing that the process of liberation, and if you go back and look again at the English Dictionary of Liberation, which is exactly what we are fighting for today, liberation literally means, when we talk about liberation, liberation says, and I quote,
Liberation.
Liberation, the action of settling someone free from imprisonment, slavery, and oppression. Release the
liberation
of all political prisoners. Someone like Nnamdi Kanu is a political prisoner. There's nothing wrong in what we are doing because it is already under a resolution in 1960. So when some of you are here saying, well, we don't have the right to do what we are doing, the question we should be asking ourselves is, do you want to be liberated or not?
Liberation.
The action of setting someone free from imprisonment. That is what we're all doing. I am in a prison. You are in the prison. The only difference is my prison is better than yours. Ike Kerimadu is far better than many of you in Nigeria today, even though his freedom has been removed from him for the next 7 years. Ike Kerimadu is not going to be in Nigeria even by the time Bola Tinubu finishes his government in 2021. He will still be in UK under the lock and key because of the crime he committed. But he's still better off you in Nigeria. Ike Kerimadu is on a night out now. He doesn't have the privilege to do what I am doing right now. That is a part of the freedom that he lost. Prison is nothing, but if you kill, that means it's different. It's just to reform. Just to say that what you did was wrong, it's not allowed. You do not bring somebody to try to remove their kidney and favor it for your daughter. That is the crime he committed. But he's still far better off millions of you because he can have 3 square meals, he can do as much, but it's only that his freedom has been removed. But majority of you in Nigeria, your liberty, the liberation that we are fighting for today is not because of you, it's because of the next generation. Because the next generation is going to ask us why some of us had the privilege to live like I did. They will then ask, why did you not educate your people about
liberation?
But many of you don't want to be liberated. That is why you continue to fight those of us that are calling for the right to self-determination. To you, it seems that we are fighting, we are upset with the government. We are not upset with the government because the government itself is under lock and key. Every administration that has operated in Nigeria, take it to the bank, has been under colonialism. Whether during the military, because Abacha was literally taking so much money out of Nigeria. The question is, where was this money going to? They were ending up in Switzerland. Do you know that Switzerland doesn't want to involve in anything? They want to be as neutral, but yet Switzerland is not even up to the population of the country that Abacha was stealing money from. $5 billion have been removed from from Nigeria, out by one single man. That man have died now. We don't even know how much money left the offshore of Nigeria. Many of you don't want to be liberated. That is why you're fighting Nnamdi Kanu. That is why you're fighting Igboho. That is why you're fighting Simon Ekpa. That is why you're fighting the freedom fighter, because a lot of you will never be liberated if we do not liberate you. Once again, it is time that we get ourselves liberated. Freedom from limit on thought or behavior. The action of settling someone free from the imprisonment. I cannot set Ike Kerimadu free because it's a different imprisonment that he is. He committed a crime, but his crime even has a time limit. And that time limit means that in the next 7 years, if he's done good in the prison and behave himself, he might even get a parole. I don't know. Even that guy that runs, in South Africa, what's his name again? That killed his girlfriend. He's going to be free on January 5. That killed his Oscar Pistero. He's given a parole, but he has served his time. But those of you in Nigeria, you have served your time. I understand the law for Nigeria, but it is time that we get ourselves free from Nigeria so that we can move things further. We can move mountains. We can become who we are in our true independent indigenous people, as against the word Nigeria. Nigeria is just a coin that is still under the colonial rule. Once again, we must all start talking and asking these questions. The next 4 years, your PVC is not going to change anything. The politicians are very smart. We must say enough is enough. Oscar Pistero was an Olympic runner that killed his girlfriend on the one of the Valentine Day. I can't remember the year. And always remember, Valentine Day. Take today's days down. There will always be blood. What is the true meaning of liberation? Liberation means the setting free of someone or something. We're trying our best to set ourselves free from Nigeria, while many Nigerians do not want us to be free. You're talking about leadership. You don't even have a country to talk about leadership. You don't even have a country yet, but you're talking about leadership. Every one of your leaders are under the key of the Europeans, and they're working in their directives, regardless of who they are, the Yorubas, the Igbos, the Hausas. Good evening to those of you that have joined us, and welcome to the program. Visa to the UK started in 1986 up to 1985. We can travel to the UK without visa, but today, many of us have lied to get to this country, one way or the other. If you're not born in this country, at some point, you have lied to get to this country. What is the word that means liberation? Some common synonyms for liberated are emancipated, free. The word free is something that anybody wants you to go. The moment you are free, your life will be very, very different. Being free does not mean you need a lot of money in the bank account, as long as you have a government that respects and appreciates you. The Nigerian government do not even know some of you that are saying that I am in Nigeria, and I'm not joking yet. I am not. I have lived there, and the government recognized me. My driver license alone in this country allows me better than the Nigerian passport. And that is why in the video that has been circulating, the woman was asking, where is the Nigerian president? Even though the Nigerian president was just behind her. What a very sad situation. Go watch that video again. I'm sure some of you have seen the video. I don't have to play it. If the country was well respected and positioned, nobody would stand in front of Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is recognized. To release people is what we are doing. We're trying to release you, but some of you don't want to be released because you love your oppressors. And your oppressors have literally used you, and that is why you do not like people like us that are campaigning against your oppressors. And your oppressor knows that we are doing the best to liberate ourselves, but they're always happy when they see some of you attacking us. You cannot fix what does not have the foundation. Trying to fix Nigeria is like trying to go below the water and trying to fix whatever the problem was that led to the sinking of the Titanic. We saw what happened recently. May their soul rest in peace. They died underneath the ocean, just trying to visit something that nobody should have visited again. It is time that we say enough is enough. If you're looking for that video, go on the social media and type in, you will find that video there. Let's go further again. We've talked about liberation. I've given you the full meaning of colonialism. One more time.
Colonialism
is a practice by which UK and some other countries control Nigeria directly or indirectly. While liberation, it's all about to free us from the imprisonment that we find ourselves in Nigeria. Let's go back again. We're reading from an article called Under the United Nations. You can find this at www.ohchr.org, or you can just type in Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and People, or you can just type in Resolution 1514. It will pop up on the Google and you can read it, and you'll start understanding that 9 countries that were absent knew that a day like this will happen. 63 years, we are now standing up against some of this country and asking questions. Why were they absent? Why was the UK and America absent at this kind of declaration? This should have been the kind of sitting that they should have sat, but they knew that having a seat like that would then implicate them like today. Believing that the process of liberation is irresistible, irreversible, and that in order to avoid serious crisis, an end must be put to colonialism and all practice of segregation, discrimination associated with it. How do we end colonialism? What do we need to do? It's exactly what we are doing: engaging, talking, bringing more people to come and listen to us. But people want me to talk about, gist lover that is talking about some kind of irrelevant thing that doesn't set you free. It does not matter how much data you use to watch gist lover and the rest of them. That is not freeing yourself. These are the kind of conversation you should be listening to so that your mind can come out of the reality that whoever is behind gist lover is making so much money while you are there looking for the gossip. I'm sorry. You're expecting AY that has a show in London to talk about the breakup of Nigeria. You're expecting whoever to talk about the breakup of Nigeria. They're not going to talk about it, the breakup of Nigeria. You're thinking Renault is going to tell you the breakup of Nigeria. Renault was under Jonathan. He made so much money and he can tell you all kind of craps on the social media today. What every Nigerian should be discussing is whether we still want to remain one or not. All the bigotry, the fighting, the infighting is not going to solve the problem. What can solve our problem is, do we want to remain one bloc? Yes or no? The British citizens were given that opportunity in 2016. They asked for it. They campaigned, both sides, for and against. Eventually, people won, and the British citizen exit from the European Union in 2016. And the negotiation continued behind closed door within certain things that link the British government from whatever they were doing when they were in one bloc. But today, they've now have their own separate union. The first thing that changed was the British passport. Many British citizens or British passport holder can confirm what I'm saying. The passport changed quickly. You will not be able to travel with your old passport to European countries because that has changed. When we get a country of our own, we change the passport and we start using our own Yoruba passport. Welcoming the emergency in the recent years of large number of dependent territories. Like I said, more people, more countries are now asking. If you go under the United UNPO, Unrepresented People Organization, we are number 40-something. That means 44 countries are asking for right to independence. But it is never going to be easy because those countries that they are currently inside do not want them to go. That is where the problem is. So that when they go, you've literally free certain set of slaves that becomes independent. That is why the East Timorians fought for 30 years to be free. It was a painful one, but the next generation will love those that fought that kind of freedom for them today. Again, I take that again back one more time. Welcoming the emergency in the recent years of a large number of dependent territories into freedom and independence, and recognizing the increasingly powerful trend towards freedom in such territories which have not yet attained independence. People like the Yorubas do not have independence. Well, you might say you've got independent in 1960 and they're telling you all that lies. Well, you might as well ask why they were telling us that Mungo Park founded River Niger. It was a big lie. And I don't think anybody has apologized, just like King Charles refused to apologize for the crime the British Empire created in 1952 with Mau Mau in Kenya. Thousands of people were killed. Convinced that all peoples have an inalienable right to complete freedom. We have the inalienable right to complete the freedom, the exercise of their sovereignty and their integrity of their national territory. But the question is, nobody wants you to have that inalienable right, especially in Nigeria today. It is a right that must now be discussed if you do not want the ticking time bomb to come on us. Solemnly proclaims that the necessity of bringing to a speedy and unconditional end colonialism in all its forms and manifestation. This then takes us to the declaration itself, which I'm going to read. But reading all these, why did 9 countries were absent? Why in 1960? At least the 2 major countries that should have been there refused to be there, or the 3, France, America, and UK. These 3 countries were absent in 1960, November 14 precisely. Now, and to this end declares, number 1, the subjection of the peoples, and the program still ends at 1 o'clock, so we just have 15 minutes to go. To this end declares that the subjection of the peoples to align subjugation, domination, exploitation, constitute a denial of fundamental human rights is contrary to the Charter of the United Nations and is an impediment to the promotion of world peace and cooperation. Number 2, all peoples have the right to self-determination. I repeat that again. All people have the right to self-determination, which is exactly what we are doing today. By virtue of that right, they are freely determining their political status away from the APC, the PDP, and all the corrupt political party currently running under the fraudulent country called Nigeria today. Freely determine their political status, freely pursue their own economic. We want a Yoruba economy. We want to plan a Yoruba policy. We want to have a Yoruba central bank. But most of you want a Nigeria central bank where some of you withdraw money, the money doesn't get to the other side, and it takes weeks and weeks until you call on the social media, you call the banks out, and sometimes they don't even pay you the money back. Number 3, inadequacy of political, economic, social, or educational preparedness should never serve as a pretext for delaying independence. Number 4, all armed action or repressive measures of all kinds directed against the dependent people, just like the former President Muhammadu Buhari, dead or alive, was doing. We don't know what this one is going to do because we haven't done anything to indicate whether the Yorubas will be attacked or not. But we saw the attack that took place during Buhari on Nnamdi Kanu and Igboho. These are armed action or repressive measures of all kinds that was directed against independent peoples shall cease in order to enable them to exercise peaceful and freely their right to complete independence and integrity of their national territory. But because Nigeria is what it is, that was not respected. Few or thousands of both sides, the Biafrans and the Yorubas and the other ethnic groups, have died because of these kind of oppressive measures. Number 5, immediately steps shall be taken in trust and non-self-governed territories. So if Yoruba people decide to declare today, that means that even if the federal government of Nigeria disagree with us, that means that we will now become a non-self-governed territories. While some will agree, some countries might not agree. But remember that 195 countries in the world today at least some will back you up. All other territories which have not yet attained independence, to transfer all powers to the people of those territories. If things were meant to go in accordance, the federal government should just transfer the power to the people that are now campaigning for the Yoruba nation. But in reality, this is not going to happen if we sit back and think that that is going to happen without a lot of consultation, a lot of negotiation. The other way around is, if something is not peaceful, I'm sure you know what the next thing is. Without any conditions or reservations, in accordance with their freely expressed will and desire, without any distinction as to the race, creed, or color, in order to enable them to enjoy complete independence and freedom. Number 6, any attempt aimed at the partial or total destruction of the national unity and the territorial integrity of a country is incompatible with the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations. And the last one, number 7, all states shall observe faithfully and strictly the provisions of the Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the present declaration, on the basis of equality, non-interference in the internal affairs of all states, and respect for the sovereign right of all peoples and the territorial integrity. As we're about to leave the program in just about 10 minutes, the question we should ask again is, who does not want you to be free? Is it you, or your politicians, or the colonial masters? Who doesn't want you to be free? Or why don't you want to be free? If you think that you will live in today's Nigeria and you'll be free, you are living in denial. We have the time, and the time is now. I'd like to appreciate every single one of you that have joined us again this morning. And I'd like to say thank you so much for being part of the program. We hope that you will join us again when we bring the next program to your forum. And in 2024, there will be a lot of programs that will be coming up on the Koiki Media platform. We are working on that, and we'll be telling you those good news in 2024. But for now, I'll be back some other time. But remember, self-determination is a right, and that right will be respected. I'd like to appreciate every single one of you that have joined me tonight, and those of you that will be watching it again tomorrow. Because it's not the kind of your taste, I know some of you don't share and some of you don't like it, because this is not a gossip platform, but this is a self-determination. It could just help somebody if you share it. Maybe we can use that to free ourselves. Bishop Additional, a very good morning. Thank you so much. Aziz Shakiru, thank you. Just Reason, good morning. Thank you. Dizima123, Mas B, thank you so much. Mrs. Titilola Shaw, thank you so much. Mr. Oladele Olamilekon, thank you so much. The One, thank you so much. Aziz Owolola, I'd like to appreciate you. Mr. Sharif Alabi, the video, I guess you can watch it from Linda Ikeji. Mrs. Folasha Deojo, thank you so much for joining us. And also on this side, Mr. Lukman Olaide, thank you so much. Silva Badmos, thank you so much. Mr. Yinka Ogundele, Sheikh Imam Nazel, thank you so much. Mr. Abiodun George, thank you so much. Remy Official, my brother, I love you too much. Corey Day Creation, thank you so much. Tokyo _778, Tulua Lashe _5, thank you so much. Lacotte Jamot 419, I don't know what kind of name is that. You shouldn't be using 419. It's not a very good name, because I'm sure you know the meaning of 419. So you might want to change that, but that is up to you. Ajewumi, thank you so much. Alake Jong, thank you. Guest 80, Bankimo, People Solution Limited, or Darren Felix, thank you, sir. ARC 707, Lee Stanley Official, I am Dari, thank you so much. NFM_intellectual, and I hope my screen was clean after you requested for that. Thank you. Below for Real 123 Intellectual, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Cool as Gold. Thank you so much, Raw 9831. We're still about 8 minutes. I'm not bringing anybody in. Please do not send a request. Bookie_76, thank you. Smith Taiwo King.net 66 on Instagram. Adi.by524, thank you so much. Ipinloye1, thank you so much. Mrs. Tara _Yemi, thank you so much. Anu underscore La Rigby, thank you so much. We're just appreciating you just to let you know that we can see you. And if I don't see you, please do not take it as offended. Larry K, 1925, Mr. Tokwe Wolabi, Grandma Felicia Jagbe, Innovate, send a greeting to your wife and the children. I know you told me that I do watch the program. Mr. Raji Kolakbo. Mr. Peter Pan says that life has given us the golden opportunity to write history, write the best history. Your unborn generation will be proud of you. So let me appreciate those of you on our YouTube the other platform quickly. If you're watching me on the Twitter, I can't see you, but I'm sure you can see me. I'd like to appreciate you. Let me appreciate my mom. I say good morning. Thank you so much. Thank you so much once again, Mrs. Comfort Ologunja, Grandma. Thank you, Ganilo Yede. Kule Bakers, thank you so much. Easy Dollar, thank you so much. Aziz in Houston, thank you so much. Adeni Yakim, good evening to you. Just Raising, thank you so much. Mr. Dekunle Oguns, thank you so much. Many of you, TJ Baba, Kola P, and the rest of you, BT Queen, thank you everyone that joined the platform tonight. It's a very short program. I just want you to remember that we're doing our best. Cruz J say, you know, go move by if not you. Leave next generation, you go explain tire. Let me explain tire. That is my job. I'm a journalist. My job is to explain. So don't worry about that. TJ say, African, wake up before it is too late. Well, we hope they wake up because they get carried away too much. Mrs. Veronica, thank you so much. And the rest of you, Festus Olakunle Milano did send us about 50 rows tonight. We appreciate and thank you so much. Private underscore do not follow. Wow, that one. Mr. David Collar P, thank you so much. And if you're there, I can't see you for whatever reason. I say thank you for being part as well. As I leave us again tonight, my name is Olami Koike. I wish I come live. I can't, but in the new year, you might get certain program from Koike Media that will tell you we are live. And on that note, I say happy new week. Let me appreciate those of you on the Twitter space, Mr. Bashman, Simon Ekba. I know a lot of you are using Simon Ekba. I did listen to his program last night. A very good one. And also those of you on the MixLR, thank you so much. We have few people listening on the MixLR. Ojodon Okwe, the Koike Media team, thank you so much. We appreciate Babakitoye. We appreciate all the teams that are working for the progress of the Yoruba people to exit out of Nigeria. And as I leave us again, Oloyede Okoyemi, thank you so much. Mr. Ahmed says the Kenya people should have drove King Charles out of their country for the arrogance and ignorance that he refused to apologize for the atrocity and the crime that the British colonial empire did in Kenya during his colonial rule. Well, I'm not sure why they didn't do that. Ahmed also went on to say, Babakule say, UK is afraid what the Yoruba people nation will be able to do because all the Yoruba people around the world will come together for a better future for our Yoruba people and compete with the UK. The India economy is surpassing the UK very fast. India is now number 5th in the world when it comes to the economy. Ijaya says, and I quote, multinational companies control Africa resources and they only pay 3.5 royalty to our leaders, which is among the reason our currency in Africa are failures. You need to see the CFA, which is controlled by France. They are controlling, and that is why Niger says they want to take control of their own resources. Thank you so much, my brother. You also went on, Mr. Ahmed. Nigeria doesn't benefit Yoruba people, or Nigerians only benefit the European Union countries with their 27. UK, we have to end Nigeria now, get our own Yoruba country. There's no country like Nigeria in the world. We have nothing in common. Yoruba people have nothing in common with the Hausa, Fulani, and the Igbo people. If we, the Yoruba, are given our own country and the Igbo have their Biafra Republic, we will both two countries will compete with each other, live peaceful with each other, and the Hausa Fulani people can work with the Niger Republic to be their northern protectorate, which I totally agree with you, sir. We are 3 minutes away to the end of the program. Let me see if I can still pick one there. Okay, it looks like, okay. Mr. Bayomi says, man of the man, thank you so much. Mr. Matthew Idowu, Prince Adebayo Shitu, good morning to you. If I didn't call your name, it's because you didn't put a comment and I cannot find you on the thread. Once again, Mokebugu Alen say, I hope we've learned something tonight. Okay, don't go yet. I hope we've learned something tonight. And as I leave us, let me remind us that nobody wants you to be free. You have to be free. And to be free means it has to be painful. And that is part of what we are doing tonight. Thank you so much. Oran Yolamasun. Alami Koike. Koike Media, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Bye for now. Good night.